Herkese iyi akşamlar, hoş geldiniz. Sizleri Eğitim Reformu girişiminde ağırlamak bizler için çok büyük keyif. Tabii bugün çok önemli bir de konuşmacımız var, Renee Hobbs. Kendisini Amerikan Konsolosluğu ile beraber Basın ve Kültür Dairesi ağırlamaktan dolayı son derece mutluyuz. Öncelikle bu çalışmada işbirliği yapabildiğimiz için kendilerine çok teşekkürler. Biliyorsunuz ERG'de mümkün olabildiği kadar sahada üstün ergilerin daha çok siperlerde görev yapan dediği uygulamacılar da akademisyenleri daha araştırma düzeyinde de çalışan kişileri bir araya getirmeye çalışıyoruz. Hem bizim sahadan çok öğrenilecek şeyimiz olduğunu düşünüyorum ama hem de sahadakilerle daha araştırma odaklı çalışanların da birbirleriyle olan etkileşimin faydalı olduğunu görüyoruz. Bu temelde aslında çok da iyi bir konuşmacımız var. Çünkü bir iletişim profesörü kendisi, iletişim bilimleri profesörü. Rhode Island Üniversitesi'nde Harrington School of Communication and Media, Harrington İletişim ve Medya Okulu'nun direktörü kendisi. Özellikle eğitim fakülteleri dışındaki fakültelerden, bölümlerden, okullarla beraber iş yapılabilmesi bizim çok gördüğümüz bir şey değil Türkiye'de. Biliyorsunuz hani bu böyle bir alan paylaşımı var bizim kırmaya çalıştığımız. Mümkün olduğu kadar disiplinler arası öğrenmeyi cesaretlendirmek istiyoruz Türkiye'de. Profesör Hobbs 1990'ların başında Harvard Üniversitesi Eğitim Fakültesi'nde de medya eğitimi konusunda bir enstitü kurmuş. Ve ilk ulusal medya okuryazarlığında öğretmen eğitimi programını hayata geçirmiş. Bu açıdan bugün bizimle dijital okuryazarlık üzerine görüşlerini paylaşacak ama bunu bahsederken, bunları konuşurken de oldukça çok okul deneyiminden, sınıfta öğrencilerle, öğretmenlerle paylaştıklarından da beslenerek konuşacak. Kendisi daha bugün Beyoğlu Anadolu Lisesi'nde öğrencilerle bir araya gelmiş. Orada onlarla keyifli vakit geçirmiş. Ben çok uzatmayacağım. Kendisini önce dinleyeceğiz bir 45-50 dakika. Daha sonra da sizlerle sohbet etme, soru cevap yapma şansınız olacak. Herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum tekrar geldiğiniz için. Pazartesi akşamı yağmurlu ve karanlık bir hava ama çok keyifli olacağına eminim. Profesör Hobbs.
I am so delighted to be here, and thank you so much for coming to this presentation. Today I would like to share with you some of my experiences in working with elementary and secondary teachers to help build critical thinking and communication skills that connect the culture to the classroom. Today the materials, the videos, and the slides that I am using are available here on my website, mediaeducationlab.com. Up here, it says Hobbs in Istanbul and Ankara. So if you click there, you will be able to access the materials and resources that I am sharing with you. Over the last 30 years, I have worked very closely with K-12 teachers in elementary and secondary schools and worked with them to create many different kinds of learning experiences. And I document those learning experiences here on the website, along with the research and writing that goes along with that. So I've had the great opportunity to learn from many different kinds of teachers across the country and across the world, as I have been able to work in Brazil, in the Netherlands, in Beijing, China, and many other countries where I continually discover so many talented teachers. So I am grateful to you for coming and hopefully a chance for us to share some of our own creativity in thinking about how to prepare students for full participation in this rapidly changing world that we now inherit. So most recently I have been involved in developing a white paper for the Aspen Institute and the Knight Foundation called Digital and Media Literacy, a Plan of Action. It's a policy paper that offers a strategy on how to help all 300 million Americans become media literate. I'm also very interested in how we help students understand more about copyright law. Now that we are using copyrighted materials, when we use a photo from Google, when we take a copyrighted piece of a newspaper article, we are always, teachers and students are always using copyrighted materials as an essential part of the teaching and learning practices. But now, some confusion and misunderstanding about copyright has made teachers more fearful than they should be about copyright. So I wrote a book to clarify that, what the law enables us to do. And this book, this new book, Digital and Media Literacy, Connecting Culture and Classroom, is the result of 3 years of working in middle school and high school as I show how science teachers, literature teachers, history teachers, language teachers can integrate media and digital literacy into their existing curricula. This book from 2007 is a research study looking at the impact of digital and media literacy on reading comprehension scores. We all want students to be more skillful readers. How does digital and media literacy support reading comprehension? This was the first large-scale quantitative study to show that relationship. So we're here because everything is becoming digital. In fact, all of our print media is now increasingly available to us through the computer screen or through the mobile screen. We now encounter the printed word in digital form. And in fact, many of us carry music in our pockets right now as we use music in a very portable way. So music is a part of our cultural experience that is now digital. And of course, entertainment is increasingly digital as we celebrate and enjoy our leisure hours by using digital media. Journalism is undergoing a fundamental revolution now in the advent of the internet as new ways of reporting on our communities and our world is made possible by the internet. This is an example of a project from Italy called the Tiziano Project, where photojournalists make available online, and when you click on a photo, the photo enlarges, and you can read about the particular situation in that community, in that neighborhood. Very interesting new way for journalists to reach audiences through online media. Video games take up more and more of our young people's time, and now video game producers are experimenting with how to connect play and learning. As a parent, you know, I always knew that play and learning were connected. When we see our littlest children, we see that play is the first form of learning. But now we are experimenting with how play and learning might be extended across to older and older people. And many of us have experienced the pleasure of learning new things by playing video games. Of course, we also bring some concerns about social media. As social media changes our relationships with each other, allows us to connect to each other and to knit together our family relationships, but at the same time introducing new concerns about privacy, about anonymity, about social responsibility. It turns out that everything that we used to do on paper are now moving to digital form. What we haven't completely begun to understand is what new competencies and skills are required to participate in a world where we spend more time with a screen. For instance, we know that when people read on a screen, if it's a computer screen or if it's a laptop screen, people only read 23% of the words. Good readers read the right 23%. Bad readers read the wrong 23%, and they have poor comprehension as a result. So we need to learn more about how students and young people and all of us get information and process it and make sense of it in the new digital environment. But here are these devices, right? And how do we make effective use of them? And how do we engage young people with the skills they need? In the United States, the momentum for digital literacy is increasing because there are so many stakeholders who care about this topic, including technology businesses, government, those of us who work in elementary or secondary or higher education. The activist community is very interested in digital literacy as we see the potential when every person can broadcast an idea, then everyone has the capacity to make social and political change. And librarians are vitally interested in this topic of digital literacy, as their job is to provide access to ideas and information. And creative people are using the power of image and language and sound and multimedia, putting those things together in incredibly creative and beautiful ways. Raise your hand if you have had the experience of going online and clicking, and pointing, and clicking, and pointing, and maybe 1 hour or more has passed, and you can hardly imagine so much time has spent and you have been just enjoying the opportunity to see creative sharing of ideas. Raise your hand if you have experienced this incredible thrill. It's because creative people are using image, language, sound, and interactivity to educate, to inform, to persuade, and to entertain. So these are characteristics. All these stakeholders should make us feel very optimistic. We educators are not alone. Many other stakeholders are with us in wanting to help prepare students for this new world of digital media. But really, the focus on digital media makes us think about what is the purpose of education and why we do it to begin with. You know, over 100 years ago, John Dewey said there are 3 purposes of education. We educate to transmit our cultural heritage to the next generation. The best that have been thought in the poetry and the literature and the history and the science of previous generations get passed to the next generation. We use education to transmit our cultural heritage. We use education to help individuals become the best human beings they can be, to become the most perfect individuals that they are destined to be. But the third purpose of education, we have sometimes neglected. The job of education is to prepare students for the world, for the life they will lead as adults. Here's a quote from a group of academics in Great Britain. If it were possible to generally define the mission of education, it could be said that its fundamental purpose is to ensure that students benefit from learning in ways that allow them to participate fully in public, community, and economic life. So preparing students for the world they inherit is an important goal of education. And in my experiences as a scholar and as a media producer and as a teacher and a researcher, I've tried to do just that. For instance, combining games and learning with the Let's Get Political quiz. For teenagers, only 12 questions, and you can find out, what kind of citizen are you? Are you a cynic who doesn't believe that voting has any value at all, doesn't make a difference? Are you a spectator that just watches the political show? Romney, Obama, rah, rah. Are you an engaged citizen who takes the time to determine which political views best serve your interests as a citizen, best help you and your family. This is a game that introduces teenagers to the idea that we choose how to be citizens. We make a choice how to be citizens, and we learn to be citizens during our adolescent years. So for younger children, I have created a set of online games, 15 games under the rubric My Pop Studio, learning about how people make choices about what kind of music, what kind of TV, what kind of magazines, and what kind of digital media to use. And that the most important thing we can help our children and young people to do is make good choices. When I was growing up, my mother always said, garbage in, garbage out. And you know, by this she meant that if I filled up my head with junk, only junk would come out of my mouth. If I filled up my head with beauty and with wisdom, perhaps a possibility that beauty and wisdom would come out. This idea of helping young people to make choices it's challenging for us, because we teachers think, well, we must make all the good choices for our students. In fact, isn't that what a curriculum is? I make good choices, I hand them to students, here are the good choices I have made. Won't you like my good choices? But how does that prepare students to make good choices for themselves? So we must think about preparing students to be independent users and choosers. And that means thinking about what we do in the classroom in a new way. But we must begin with ourselves as teachers. We come with attitudes and beliefs about different media. And whatever attitudes and beliefs you have about media will shape what you do with media and technology in your classroom. So you see, I have a love it and hate it idea. Each one of us has things we love about books and magazines, movies and TV shows, radio and recorded music, and social media, the internet, and video games. There are things we love about those media, but there are also things about these media that we hate, that are disturbing, problematic, or difficult. For instance, I love books, and I love to read, and I love magazines. But you know what I hate? These days, a lot of magazines feature celebrities, hardly any clothes on at all, doing all kinds of terrible behavior, right? And they get a lot of attention in the magazines for being bad. I wish magazines didn't spend so much time talking about the bad behavior of celebrities. So now, I want you to reflect on your love-hate relationship with the person sitting next to you in a group of two. Introduce yourself to the person you are seated next to and share one thing you love and one thing you hate about print media, visual media, sound media, or digital media. You have 3 minutes to converse with your partner. You may begin. What is your love-hate relationship? Print, sound, TV, and the internet. reflect on your love-hate relationship, remember my point that what your attitudes and beliefs are about media, what your love-hate relationship is, will affect your choices of how you use media and technology in your classroom with your students. So, I want 4 volunteers. Who would like to share about your love-hate relationship with print media? Print media. Who has something you discussed about your love-hate relationship with print media? Yes?
I like print media, but if I have a chance to use digital media, of course, I generally prefer to digital media.
Why do you prefer digital media to print media?
Because it's the useful way to use in the classroom, and my students really focus the digital media. And when I get my iPad in the classroom, they say, "Oh, teacher, you have an iPad and you get notes on there." And so, for this reason, this is a big choice for me. Yeah.
Your students' interest in digital media is an advantage. Who would like to comment on your love-hate relationship with with visual media, movies and TV show? What do you love and what do you hate about visual media? Who would like to share? Please, thank you.
We both found out that we both love movies, but sometimes they can be biased, then we don't like it. TV shows we're not interested in at all.
But movies are better.
Yes, we love movies.
Why are movies better than TV shows? Why?
Because it tells you a story, visual story, and if it is made good, it gets you into it.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Who would like to share a little of their love-hate relationship with sound media? Radio, recorded music. We might even put audio books in this category of sound media. Who would like to share what you love and what you hate about sound media? Yes. Okay. Who would like to share? Someone up here? But you already shared, so I need another volunteer. Oh, good. Who is sharing about sound media? Thank you.
I just really love British Radio 4, being an Englishman, of course. When I lived in England, I have it on permanently in the background. It's given me a non-stop drip of current affairs, news information, and good intelligent listening.
You feel smarter listening to this radio, don't you? Now, I'd like you to reflect on how your attitudes about media shape your choices. What you use in the classroom, what you never use. It turns out your students have a complex love-hate relationship themselves, right? But often, there are barriers that they do not feel they can talk to us, teachers, about their own love-hate relationship with media. And so, in fact, many young people are sort of out there on their own. Now, here's another little test with your student, with your partner. Quickly, can you name all 6 of these individuals? With your partner, find out what did you know together about these 6 people. Go ahead, you have 1 minute. 5 yes. Here you go. Go. We're going to see.
First one is Merkel.
The first one is who?
Merkel.
Who is Angela Merkel? Who is she?
The German Prime Minister.
Very nice. The German Prime Minister. In the middle?
Second, in the middle, Lady Diana's replacement.
Did you say Lady Di's replacement? Who can correct him? What's her name? Kate Middleton. And who is she? She's a duchess. She's a princess. She's a princess.
Yes.
She married a prince. Who is next?
Actually, I'm gonna skip it.
Okay.
But I know Tarkan. There is one on the left side.
Yes.
With blue eyes. I think he's he's actor.
He's an actor?
Yeah, but in house, yeah.
His name is Hugh Laurie. He acts in a TV show? Yes. It's called House. Very nice. And here?
He is an African leader. Congo's leader, right?
What's his name?
He was killed. Lumumba.
No. No? He is an African leader, but he was not killed. He's still alive. What's his name?
Actually, African leader.
Where's the close? Who knows that character in the middle? The character in the middle is a guy named Joseph Kony. And in the spring of 2012, millions, 100 million or more people around the world found out about Joseph Kony because an activist group named Innocent Children distributed a viral video on YouTube about Joseph Kony's work in Uganda, where he would recruit child soldiers and he would kill families all across Uganda. This video became the most widely viewed video in the world, reaching more than 100 million viewers in only 12 days. It was a fantastic example of the power of digital media to spread ideas, as a young activist was able to get a lot of attention to this evil man to say, please stop what he is doing. A young activist only in his 20s was able to have a big impact. Now, did anyone recognize this character up here? In the United States, she is very famous. Her name is Rebecca Black. She is only 13 years old. When she was 13 years old, her mother gave her a very expensive present. She hired a music video company to make a music video featuring her, singing her song, Friday, Friday, Friday, Friday, Friday, isn't it good it's Friday? They put it up on YouTube. Who would know that this video would become so popular, also reaching 100 million views in only 50 days. But unfortunately, people, when they listened to this 13-year-old girl singing, they didn't like it. And so they wrote mean things underneath the YouTube video like, I don't like your singing. You are a terrible singer. You should be killed, you're so bad. Someone should hurt you because your song is so terrible. And in fact, this girl received death threats. It turned out that a lot of people all over the world enjoyed hating Rebecca Black. You know, it's so easy to hate online. It's even kind of fun. If you're a teenager and you are experimenting with social power, right? How to use communication to be powerful, then hating can be fun. It's the whole reason why children from age 11 to 15 may sometimes be bullies. It's at the heart of the German concept of Schadenfreude, taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune. It is not a good feature of our humanity. It's something we should feel ashamed about. But for millions and millions of teenagers in the United States and all over the world, for many months it became fun to hate Rebecca Black, and no grown-up or teacher or principal or school leader even knew that kids were doing it. Nobody was having conversations with children about why is it so easy to hate online, to be mean online? What are the characteristics of the online medium that makes it easy to be hurtful? And how do we behave respectfully when we're face-to-face and when we're online? These are conversations that are more important than ever today. So, how do we do it? Do we ignore the world of mass media and popular culture, or do we engage with it? Do we bring our own values and our own critical thinking skills to our students and say, let's talk together about the way in which media affects how we see ourselves and the world around us? So obviously that's the idea. I think it's really important to use questions to promote critical thinking. And on the handout that you have, I'm leaving you with some critical questions. These are so useful for any type of media. They work with books, they work with magazines, they work with newspaper articles, they work with literature, they work with science, they work with philosophy, they work with films, they work with TV shows, they work with advertising, they work with digital media. Notice that the questions fall into three categories. One set of questions is about authors and audiences. Now what's so exciting about the world we live in is that all of your students have the capacity to be authors themselves. When I was growing up, I thought authors were a very special group, and I never expected that I myself would be one. But now, children grow up even as young as 5, 6, and 7, and they realize they can be authors, and that to have the power of the author is to have a voice, to make a difference in the world. That's why I think we are attracted to the idealism and energy of young people, because they understand to use communication responsibly is to have power. Another set of questions has to do with messages and meaning. What are the messages communicated? And if you look at the questions in the middle section, you will see these questions are about learning to identify point of view, learning to recognize an author's purpose, learning to understand how a message is constructed. And then in the third box at the bottom, you see questions about representation and reality. You know, symbols represent the world. And the ability of symbols to represent the world is where the power of communication comes from. So for young people to understand how symbols have a relationship to the things they symbolize, you know, NaCl, the symbol that stands for salt, the chemical symbol, it's a symbol. But by having that symbol, we have a certain kind of power and flexibility that the symbol lets us think in new ways about. So understanding the relationship between the representation and the reality, these are concepts that help students develop critical thinking skills. All right, so now, the last activity that we do before we look at some examples of teacher practice. With the person sitting next to you. If you are seated in this first 1, 2, 3 rows, I would like you to be the authors and audiences team. Review carefully the questions under authors and audiences. And we'll look at a piece of media, a very short clip, and we'll see if we can use these critical thinking questions to analyze that media text. You guys, rows, this row, this row, this row, and maybe even this row. You must be the messages and meanings team. Take a careful look at these questions, and as we read those questions now, and then we will ask you to discuss them with your partner. And then this team, you guys are the most important team, the representation and reality team. Look at these questions, right? Read those questions, and then we'll watch a short clip of media, and we'll try to analyze this piece of ordinary TV. It's ordinary TV that your students in grades 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 would watch, have watched. We'll see what critical questions do to activate intellectual curiosity and inspire critical thinking. Okay, we'll watch this twice so that you can really study it. Let's see here. It's very short.
She is right outside.
Yes, good. Let's have a little talk with her.
Carly, get in here right now.
Have a seat. So, I understand you put some flyers up all over the school.
Yes, I did.
Punk! Miss Briggs!
I'm calm.
Carly, this flyer.
It's not funny! Why would you photo dock my head onto the body of a rhinoceros?
Oh,
Rhinoceros? Oh, no. She made you a hippopotamus.
No, she's a rhinoceros. A hippo has fatter thighs and a wider snout.
I thought the rhinos had fat guys.
No, a picture of the two of them together.
Is it?
Really
What
does it matter? I think we should call her father in to discuss this.
My dad's stationed in Europe right now.
He's in the military.
Well, there must be some adult in charge of her.
My older brother, Spencer.
Oh, yes. The artist.
He's a great artist.
Look, we don't need to call her brother in about this. I'm sure that you can come up with a suitable punishment.
Fine. You know, Carly, I am in charge of the talent show this year.
Yeah, you're holding auditions on Saturday.
No, you are.
Huh?
I will be enjoying my Saturday while you videotape the auditions for me.
No, I'm going to see Cuttlefish play live at the Hawthorne on Saturday.
Not anymore.
Come on!
It's what you get for turning me into a hippopotamus.
Rhinoceros. Yeah, right?
It's so short. It's so brief. But it has many layers of complexity. Let's watch it again, and then I'll ask you to discuss with
Oh, do I get any turning?
We'll watch it again, then I'll ask you to discuss with your partner. We have a principal, a teacher, and a student.
She is right outside.
Yes, good. Let's have a little talk with her.
Carly, get in here right now.
Have a seat. So, I understand you put some flyers up all over the school.
Yes, I did.
Punk! Miss Briggs!
I'm calm.
Carly, this flyer.
It's not funny! Why would you photo dock my head onto the body of a rhinoceros?
Oh,
Rhinoceros? Oh, no. She made you a hippopotamus.
No, she's a rhinoceros. A hippo has fatter thighs and a wider snout.
I thought the rhinos had fat guys.
No, a picture of the two of them together.
Is it?
Really
What
fat.
Does it matter? I think we should call her father in to discuss this.
My dad's stationed in Europe right now.
He's in the military.
Well, there must be some adult in charge of her.
My older brother, Spencer.
Oh, yes. The artist.
He's a great artist.
Look, we don't need to call her brother in about this. I'm sure that you can come up with a suitable punishment.
Fine. You know, Carly, I am in charge of the talent show this year.
Yeah, you're holding auditions on Saturday.
No, you are.
Huh?
I will be enjoying my Saturday while you videotape the auditions for me.
No, I'm going to see Cuttlefish play live at the Hawthorne on Saturday.
Not anymore.
Aw, come on!
It's what you get for turning me into a hippopotamus.
Rhinoceros. Yeah, right?
So now with the person sitting next to you, talk over those questions in responding to this text. You have 5 minutes. Discuss. Pick one of those questions and start talking about it. questions and answers. One of the theoretical reasons why digital and media literacy has been associated with reading comprehension and writing skills is because of something very simple. Learners have a fund of knowledge that they are able to draw on when using these questions in response to familiar media. Your students have watched hundreds and hundreds of comedy programs like this. They have a lot of funds of knowledge that they can deploy. Even the quietest and most cautious little learner has something to contribute when invited to use their funds of knowledge about media and popular culture. So we'll hear 4 questions and your interpretations. Who would like to begin? You had a good conversation, some interesting ideas came up. Give us a summary. What came up in your conversation in response to what question? First we'll hear from the authors and audiences team. What question most engaged you and how did you discuss it? Yes? May I call on you? Thank you.
Biz en çok mesaj niçin oluşturuldu kısmını tartıştık. Çünkü hani onun bir sebebi var mutlaka öğretmen öğrenci arasındaki gerilim için. Ücretli kim öder kısmına çok takılmadık çünkü orada çok ekonomik değerli bir şey yoktu. Bundan kim zarar görebilir ve nasıl faydalanabilir diye tartıştık. İlk başta çocuk hırsını aldığı için öğretmeninden bir çatışma için yapmıştır diye. Hani belki o hırsı rahatlatacak diye düşündük. Sonrasında üçünün de yani yöneticinin de, öğretmenin de, öğrencinin de durumdan zarar göreceği kanaatine vardı.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else from the authors and auditors team want to address one of those questions? Please?
I thought maybe we can use this video as administrators, as teachers, for ethical use, and just as you're doing with us, and to analyze and learn from it what can be done, what should have been done in administering a school or our relations with students and teachers. So looking from many sides, we can take some lessons from it and correct usage of it.
Very nice point. From the messages and meanings team, which question did you discuss and how did you explore it?
We discussed about why that girl did it.
Why she made
why she made that poster.
Why did she make that poster?
Maybe she's too boring in school. She just wanted to punish her.
Maybe.
Yeah,
What about the teacher?
She just wanted to punish her teacher about being boring or being so strict towards students. And the message could be understood differently from different perspectives.
How might different people understand this clip differently?
From the point of students, it would be interesting, which is the same with the principal. But from the point of boring teachers, it will be different.
This video invites us to take the position of the student and to feel empathy toward her, right? She is the victim, maybe of a bad education system, maybe of a boring teacher, maybe something, so we are invited to take her point of view. But it's possible that some people could see that teenage girl as the bully. After all, she distributed a message that embarrassed and humiliated her teacher. This video doesn't want you to take that point of view because it wants you to feel sympathy for the main character, the teenage girl. But you can understand her work, perhaps, as being a kind of a bully. Perhaps different people can interpret the message differently. Who had their hand up here? Thank you.
Merhaba. Aynı şeyi düşünüyorum. Çocuk aslında kendini ele veriyor. Bağırıyor oradan bir sorunum var diye. Bağırmayan ve kaybolan bir sürü çocuğumuz var. Sorunlarını içine atan, susan ve kaybolan. Aslında çocuk tepkisini dile getirip ben buradayım ve bir rahatsızlığım var, bir sorunum var, bunun çözülmesini istiyorum diye haykırıyor. Öğretmenin evet empati kurması bundan önce de aslında nerede neyi yanlış yapıyorumu kendisine sorması gerekiyor. Yani bir öz değerlendirmeye ihtiyacı olduğunu düşünüyorum. Çocuklarımız bize her tepki gösterdiklerinde bir öz değerlendirme yapmamız gerektiği kanısındayım. Çocuğumuz çünkü oradan gerçekten çok yüksek sesle bağırıyor sorunum var diye.
Intriguing. Thank you so much. Now this is the representations and reality team. What questions intrigued you? Tell me about the messages.
I think the manager is aware of the problem. He also knows how boring is the teacher. That's why he loves a lot. He enjoys a lot about visual. But he cannot solve the problem. Just laughing and not doing anything about this problem is not enough.
So there is a representation of principles that maybe they can do little except to lighten the situation with their humor. This is maybe an ineffective principal, perhaps, who's not using his full authority. Other questions in the representation and reality team. What did you discuss and what insights did you come up with?
Müdürün kafasını yapıştırsaydı o fotoğrafın üzerine herhalde bu kadar sempatik bakmazdı o resme. Dolayısıyla burada müdürün tavrını doğru bulmuyorum. Öncelikle biz arkadaşımla şunu tartıştık. Burada bizim bölümümüzde bağlam ve güvenilirlikle ilgili sorular var. Videonun tamamınınla mı ilgili bu sorular yoksa kızın dağıttığı mesajla mı ilgili? Onu biz ilk önce bir tartıştık. Sonra şuna karar verdik. Çeviri hatası falan var acaba dedik. Yani dille ilgili bir sorun var dedik. Sonra biz kızın mesajını tartıştık. Ve kızın tabii ki mesajı bir öğretmene dalga geçmek için kamuoyu dediğimiz yani okulun duvarlarına bir resim asıyor. Ve bu tabii ki gerçekliği temsil etmediği için güvenilir değil. Zaten çok açık yani bir şey. Ama öğretmenin biraz kuralcı ve katı ve sıkıcı olabileceğini biz de düşündük. Burada bilgi, fikir ve tezlerin kaynakları nelerdir diyor. Tamamen öğrencinin kendi yaratıcılığı ya da kendi düşünceliği diye karar verdik.
Thank you very much for sharing. My experience in talking to teenagers about issues of digital media and social responsibility is that it's very hard to talk about what they actually do. They will not tell you what they actually do. They have maintained a strict policy of silence and secrecy, and they learn to be secret when they are only 8 years old. That is when the secrecy begins. That's when children start hiding from parents and from teachers what they do online. This has already been well established, and we've now had one generation already. My university students began hiding when they were 9 years old. It's very intact. But to have a discussion about a piece of media only 25 seconds long, we can have a conversation about what does it mean to be responsible, about what does it mean to be a bully, what does it mean to rebel, what does it mean, what are the responsibilities of teachers and principals and children. It's a very powerful set of tools, these critical thinking questions. Now, as the hour is getting late, I want to begin to pull together what some of the big ideas behind the idea of digital and media literacy are. The terms vary, whether you call this media literacy, digital literacy, information literacy. All of the new literacies have some key ideas behind them. First, this idea that messages are representations. Messages are not reality. They are representations. Messages use different codes and conventions. To write a piece of poetry requires a conventional use of rhyme and rhythm and the form of the sonnet or the haiku or whatever. But a film uses a different set of codes and conventions. A website uses another set of codes and conventions, and a text message uses still another set of codes and conventions. So skillful communicators adjust their communication using codes and conventions that match the need and the situation. For me, this is the heart of why digital and media literacy is so powerful. When I come to deeply respect that we all watched the same clip, but we made different meaning. We all saw the same piece, but our interpretation of it varied depending on our age, our background, our cultural experience, whether we identified with the principal, whether we identified with the teacher, whether we identified with the student. Understanding that people interpret messages differently opens up worlds of intellectual curiosity for our students. As does the understanding that messages are made for reasons. Messages have economic and political power. Messages change the world because they influence our attitudes and behaviors. So we can't really ignore the powerful role of media and technology in the lives of children and young people. In fact, it turns out that we have this array of new texts, this array of new tools, and even new relationships. I hope that many of you choose to follow me on Twitter. I am an active Twitter user. I think it is a powerful research tool. Before I even arrived here, I researched Turkey using Twitter and found out that there is an interesting political conversation happening online among users about every kind of topic. And so being tuned in to the new relationships that we can develop through social media is important. It's possible that you are already using Facebook and using Facebook to extend and amplify your social relationships. For many of us, the opportunity to talk critically with students about these social relationships is the next new frontier as we start to think how to help students think critically about social media. I love this is an